Generally, Stardew Valley is considered to be a pretty calming and relaxing game, but because I have an inability to play games like a normal person, I have decided I want to see how quickly I can get to perfection, having never even played through even a month of Stardew Valley before. I am going to be using the wiki as well as the document that I had my friends put together because they know more about this than I do. And as fun as I'm sure doing this blind would be, I do have a little bit of respect for my own time. There are 11 things that I need to do to get perfection in Stardew Valley, and I'm going to have to do them all on this one farm. So without further ado, let's see how my first year in Stardew Valley went. We're off to a brilliant start on day 1, as the footage for day 1 and day 2 just don't exist. Luckily, I mostly did just boring day 1 stuff like meeting people and planting parsnips. I also started gifting Leah because I'm a sucker for ginger women, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say, to any women who look like Leah, my DMs are so far open. I spent days 2 and 3 fishing in the mountain lake and managed to reach level 5 fishing by the end of day 3, which is pretty cool. I had foolishly thought that I was about halfway there in getting all the XP I'd need to get to level 10 by the end of the month, but I was about to get a very, very harsh lesson about the XP curve in this game. I need level 10 fishing to be able to catch the legendary fish, but there are some ways around it, which we'll see later on. I had planned to keep fishing on day 4, but my document told me that I needed to fix the beach bridge as soon as possible to try and get stuff for a bait maker. That way I could make catfish bait and make so much money on rainy days. And I managed to get 3 of the 4 forageables that I needed for it, which was fun. On the morning of day 5, Marnie brought me an adorable little black kitten who I called Umbra. The mine's also open today, which is great, and I actually managed to get all the way down to floor 20, getting through the first dreaded spiral floor with the help of some parsnips. Day 6 was a rainy day, so I spent the day at the river getting catfish with a quick stop later on at the beach for an eel. I also got the recipe for the bait maker that night with level 6 fishing, which brings me one step closer to catfish profits. I spent day 7 in the mines, and I noticed it was going to be a rainy day tomorrow. So I bought enough iron ore from Clint to get 3 iron bars to make the bait maker and be able to have my first catfish farming day tomorrow. Day 8 was our first rainy day with the bait maker, and so I went fishing, and to put into perspective just how good this is for money, I ended the day with 30 gold star catfish, and with each one being worth 375 gold, that's just under 12,000 gold, and that's without the ones I had to turn into bait. Day 9 was spent mining trying to get materials for tier 1 sprinklers by the time the Egg Festival rolls round. I managed to get down to floor 40 so I can start farming iron for the sprinklers, but it's still going to be a pretty close call to see if I can get everything I need. I spent most of day 10 farming bugs to get the Monster Slayer sword from killing 60 of them, because I have the Bone Club at the moment and it's stupid and it's slow and I hate it. On day 11 I finally paid the wizard a visit and unlocked the community center. I donated everything required for the spring forage bundle, and it was raining so I could have gone to make some catfish money, but I really need sprinklers for strawberries. We truly do yearn for the mines. Day 12 was another rainy day that I had to skip out on because I needed sprinkler materials. So I headed to the mines and then at the end of the day sold the stockpile of catfish I had and a few gems to be able to buy as many strawberries as possible tomorrow. Day 13, the Egg Festival. I may have gone a little overboard buying 148 strawberry seeds. I also kicked everyone's ass at the egg hunt and made sure Leah was watching so she knows how pretty and talented and cool I am. Day 14 was maybe the best possible scenario. It was raining, which means every seed that I plant today won't need watering. As well as this, I got all the seeds in the ground with just under 100 of them being planted with sprinklers, meaning I should be able to get the last few sprinklers I need tomorrow, and then I won't need to water them at all. On day 15, I ran around the mines grabbing all the ore I needed for the rest of the sprinklers. And on day 16, I got the rest of the sprinklers placed down. Since I noticed tomorrow would be another rainy day, I decided to gather enough copper bars to upgrade my pickaxe while I'm fishing for catfish. And then on day 17, I proceeded to forget that I was supposed to upgrade my pickaxe. But I did get just over 20 catfish, including an iridium quality one. On day 18, I actually put my pickaxe in for its upgrade, and I also bought enough gold ore to be able to make a gold bar. That gold bar and a fire quartz I got yesterday from fishing were the last 2 things I needed to complete the boiler room bundle, which give me minecarts for fast travel. I also gave Leah an aquamarine she asked for, and as I went to bed that night, the little jellybean guys danced the minecarts back to life. Why do they dance if not to rebel against capitalism? Day 19 was raining again, so I spent the day at the river. But before that, Demetrius came by and asked about the cave on my farm. I got him to set it up for fruit bats because anyone who knows me knows that I'm gonna pick the fruity option every time. I also picked up the red cabbage seeds from the traveling cart. I spent the morning of day 20 running around grabbing the rest of the spring fish that I needed. I then grabbed my pickaxe from Clint and headed up to the mines. I didn't get a whole lot done in the mines since it took way longer than I thought it would to grab the rest of the fish, but I did grab all the copper I needed to start my first axe upgrade tomorrow. I put my axe in for its upgrade on day 21 and then headed straight to the mines. I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time in the mines since I want to gather as many supplies as I can for quality sprinklers before the summer. Day 22 was another big mines dive, but before that was the first of 2 strawberry harvests. I sold all the strawberries except the gold tier ones, which I kept for gifts for Mario and Demetrius, and then headed to the mines, getting all the way from floor 60 to floor 80. It was raining again on day 23, so it was more catfishing after putting my pickaxe in for its second upgrade. I was super close to fishing level 9, so if I get lucky with rainy days, then I might be able to catch the legend in the first year, which would be so cool. Day 24 was the flower dance. I considered skipping it, but I need the rare crow from PS, so I kinda had to go. It was also super cute to see all the different dresses added by one of the aesthetic mods that I have. It was raining again on day 25, and I got to level 9 fishing just before Willie's closed, so I rushed over, bought an iridium rod, 2 trap bobbers, and some chart soup. I then rushed over to the lake since this was probably the last chance I was gonna get to catch the legend this year. And I fished until I passed out at 2 AM, but nothing. I guess the legend's gonna have to wait. I spent day 26 in the mines with a quick stop after killing some red slimes to redeem a quest. I had an amazing start to day 27. I saw that it was gonna be raining tomorrow, which means I still have a chance to catch the legend in year 1. But for now it was more mining. I still want more sprinkler materials, and I also managed to get to floor 100 of the mines and got my first star drop. Day 28. Today was the day of the legend. It was actually really anticlimactic. I got it on the line on my 3rd cast and reeled it in first try, and I tucked him safely into the fishing chest so I don't accidentally sell him. I celebrated by getting Robin started on a barn. Don't worry, I know the placement's bad, I'm gonna move it. But I want to focus on animals in summer, and I managed to get to the bottom of the mines at 11:30 PM before heading home to bed. I had enough stuff for 20 quality sprinklers and a few more to craft once everything's finished cooking up. I got a really nice weapon on floor 110 with the steel falchion, and I of course got the skull key on floor 120. Day 29 was the first day of summer, and the first day of the season is usually a pretty hectic, a lot of running around and planting and watering stuff, but I got everything placed down and watered, which is great. I ended up with 148 blueberry plants, 112 melons, and then 8 of each of the plants that I needed for the community center. I passed out, but that's not a big deal. Day 30 I spent donating everything that I had stockpiled up into the community center, and I also started gifting Demetrius to try and get him to give me a nautilus shell in the mail, since that is the only way to get it before winter. On day 31 my barn was ready, so I moved it to the left of the farm and got Robin started on a coop. On day 32 I started farming a bunch of keg materials. I planted a few acorns and farmed a whole bunch of copper and iron that I'm going to need for the kegs, as well as the tappers that I'll need for the oak trees. Day 33 was more of the same, grabbing as much wood as I could and planting a bunch more acorns for eventual oak resin. After I used all my energy, I headed to the mines and killed as many dusties as I could to work towards the burglar ring. Days 34 and 35 were spent grabbing all the non-rainy day summer fish that I could get. I even managed to get the octopus, which is apparently usually stupidly difficult, but this one must have been like sleepy or something. The crimson fish was also significantly easier than the legend. The only summer fish I need now are exclusive to rainy days. Day 36 was spent in the mines again, mostly for keg stuff. I want as many as possible. I put my axe in for its second upgrade on day 37, and then reset the mines over and over and over again on the icy floors for the dusties. I am so close to the burglar ring now. Day 38 was amazing. I received a letter from Demetrius with the nautilus shell that I needed, which means I don't have to speak to him anymore. I got the last few dusties I needed just after 12 PM for the burglar ring, and while farming copper, I managed to get an ancient seed drop from a bug at 10 PM. What a huge day. Day 39 was the luau, so I grabbed one of the gold star sturgeons that I'd fished up earlier in the summer and got ready to head to the beach. I threw my sturgeon in the soup, resulting in a soup so good that it caused the governor to shit his pants with such velocity that he achieved liftoff. On day 40, I donated all the stuff I had to the museum and got my ancient seed down before buying 2 chickens and 2 cows from Marnie. I spent the rest of the day just clearing up the farm a little. Day 41 was my first rainy summer day, but before anything, I had to do my first melon harvest. I replanted all my crops with melons except the small patch of corn which I still needed, and then went to grab the only rainy summer fish I needed, the red snapper. I also ended up grabbing the wood skip from the secret woods and did some donations to the community center. Day 42 was the first blueberry harvest, and after that I spent the day trying to grab all the mines fish. However, I only managed to get a ghost fish. I spent literally all day trying to get the ice pip and didn't even hook a single one. I did manage to get level 10 fishing though, and I picked up the angler perk, which makes my fish sell for even more. On day 43 I actually managed to grab the rest of the mines fish, the ice pip, the lava eel, and the stonefish. I wake up on day 44 to an eerie green mist covering the valley. Could this be an omen of illness? No, quite the opposite. The green rain event is literally my savior. It's a great chance to raise what is, in my opinion, the hardest skill to raise, which is foraging. I grabbed all my tools and ran through the valley, destroying piles of weeds and weird trees, and I gained almost 2 entire foraging levels, bringing me to the brink of level 6. I realized I wasn't making money fast enough for my liking, so on days 45 and 46, I made a plan. I headed to Willie's, buying the fish smoker and crafting one. I grabbed my super cucumbers and threw them in my bait makers. As soon as it hit 6 PM, I put my plan into action. I'd make all my super cucumbers into bait and smoke all the rest. This would give me smoked super cucumbers, which are worth over 1,000 gold each at gold star quality. And when I eventually get to farming level 10 and pick up the artisan skill, that will stack on top of my angler perk, which will almost double the value of smoked fish. On day 47, I just got Robin started on the final barn upgrade, and not much else. I put my hoe in for its first upgrade on day 48. I was hoping to get both the watering can and the hoe to iron by fall, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna have enough time. I did get some more crazy luck in the mines today though. While farming copper, I got an ancient seed and a prismatic shard within about 5 seconds of each other. I even got a second ancient seed drop at some point and just didn't notice. My luck continued on day 49 as I ended up getting another prismatic shard drop from bugs while farming ores. I ended up selling the smoked fish today since I needed the money to start the upgrade for the watering can. On day 50, I started my watering can upgrade, as well as selling all of my blueberries to be able to fix the bus to the desert by buying out the vault bundle. Their dance. It won't stop until we're free from the corporations. On the morning of day 51, I grabbed the deluxe backpack from Pierre. The plan was to grab both of the desert fish and do a skull cavern dive. However, it took until literally 8:30 PM to even find the scorpion carp. This was genuinely the most annoying fish in this game, and it's not even close. So I just grabbed the galaxy sword and went home. Day 52 was actually my first skull cavern day, and it was a very rude wake-up call that I was painfully underprepared. I only ended up getting to floor 20. Oh, and another thing. In the normal mines, there are usually these like waves of flying enemies, either like flying bugs or bats or something like that. In the caverns, it's not bugs, it's not bats, it's dragons. I would say that's a pretty big leap, and one that I was not prepared for. I woke up on day 53 to a challenge from someone named Mr. Key. He wanted me to reach floor 25 of the Skull Caverns, so today would be a day for the Skull Caverns. I managed to get all the way to floor 30, but then died. But you know what? I still got the challenge done, so it's fine. Day 54, I grabbed my steel watering can and put the hoe in for its steel upgrade. I also started clearing out the bottom left corner of the farm. I wanted 2 corners filled with crops for the next season, one for cranberries and one for pumpkins. I spent days 55 and 56 in the mines. I didn't end up going to the Dance of the Jellies since my notes said I could ignore it if I had other stuff to do. Day 57 was the first day of fall. I went kind of overkill with crops again, buying 448 pumpkins and 148 cranberries. I managed to get them all in the ground, which is awesome, but I did not get many watered, so they'll probably be a day late. On day 58, I noticed I was missing a few easy community center items. I'd also gotten really lucky with the traveling cart in this save and gotten everything else I needed for the animal bundle in either spring or summer. This means I can actually ignore the coop and barn for now, since I'd already gotten 2 of the harder to grab things in the truffle and the rabbit's foot. The main thing I needed from Robin now was the first house upgrade, but I can't do that since it's a Tuesday. On day 58, I got Robin started on the house upgrade and finished off the craft room bundle, which gave me access to the quarry. That's going to be where I put all my kegs later on. Day 60, I picked up the prismatic jelly request from the board in town. I found on the internet that the earlier floors of the mines were better for this quest since they spawn slimes more often, so I just ended up resetting floor 5 over and over until I got the prismatic jelly just after 6 PM. I spent day 61 in the Skull Caverns, but not a lot happened honestly. On day 62, I went back to the Skull Caverns after making some community center donations. I managed to reach level 10 mining and pick the blacksmith profession so I can sell any extra metal bars I have. I spent day 63 resetting for a bunch of iron and enough solar essence to make an iridium band. On day 64, I put my pickaxe in for its iridium upgrade after selling my first batch of cranberries. After that, I went around the town talking to everyone for a request for Emily and fishing up a bunch of trash for a bulletin board quest for Linus. Day 65, I finished saying hi to everyone in the valley and threw the trash in the bin for Linus. My pickaxe is going to be done tomorrow, so I'm going to do a Skull Cavern dive. And the footage for day 66 is missing. Sorry. Since day 67 was a pretty bad luck day, I decided to do a regular mines dive instead of going to the Skull Cavern, since I needed more materials for kegs. I spent day 68 clearing out the quarry so I can put my kegs over there. Since it's out of the way and there's plenty of room, it's pretty much the perfect place. Day 69 was spent grabbing the rest of the fish I needed for the fall and finishing off the fish tank bundle in the community center. I also grabbed the angler, the legendary fish for the fall, and I feel like he must have gotten this job from his dad, because he was a joke. Even the fish have nepotism. On day 70, I went and cleared out the quarry dungeon and got the golden scythe. I probably should have done this earlier, but whatever. I harvested my first patch of pumpkins on day 71, and with those and the apple tree that I got planted in the summer, I managed to complete the community center. I thought I needed a few more golden corns, but apparently not. I did cry when the jelly beans left though. Goodbye, little buddy. Day 72 was the Stardew Valley Fair. I kicked Pierre's ass at the Grange display and then gambled until I had enough star tokens for the Star Drop, the Rare Crow, and the dried sunflowers because they're pretty. On day 73, I saw the community center cutscene for the first time. I decided to encourage violence because I thought it'd be funny, but I did not expect Pierre to literally punch Morris out of the bounds of the game. It was very funny, and probably the most respect I will ever have for Pierre. After all that was done, I grabbed my gold axe and put my hoe in for its gold upgrade, and I finally grabbed the alleyway buffet book from behind Clint's too. I went to Marnie's and bought a pair of goats named Edam and Bree. It was a very big day today. On day 74, I gave Willie 100 pieces of bug meat that he wanted for a daily request, and that's pretty much it. Day 75 was kind of more of nothing. There's not really a whole lot to do right now until I repair Willie's boat. I did end up spending a bunch of money on power-up books though. On day 76, I finally got Robin started on the first coop upgrade. I did not realize how badly I put that off. I also grabbed my gold hoe and put my watering can in for its gold upgrade. I did a Skull Cavern run on day 77. I didn't end up going too far, but I got a bunch of ore that'll probably end up getting used for kegs. I woke up to a visit from Jody on day 78, and she invited me for dinner. All she asked is that I bring a largemouth bass with me, and when a hot mom invites me for dinner, I'd be stupid to turn it down. I went up to the mountain lake and grabbed the bass, and while on the way to become Sam's new stepmommy, I grabbed my gold watering can and got the second coop upgrade started. But that's less important than my date. Also, in the night, the old Joja building was struck by lightning, because fuck capitalism. Day 79 was pretty much nothing. I was just in the mines trying to get a ruby for the rock rejuvenation weekly quest for Emily. I already had all the other gems, but I didn't manage to find the ruby. On day 80, I finally had all the hardwood I needed for Willie's boat. I headed to the back room of the bait shop and donated the 200 hardwood, 5 battery packs, and 5 iridium bars, meaning overnight the boat will be fixed up and be ready to go to the island tomorrow morning. Day 81 was my first day on the island. For most of this run, I've been using a notes document sent to me by my buddies, but since they value their time, unlike me, they said to just follow the wiki for Ginger Island. So I got off the boat, wandered through the little jungle, grabbed a fossil which will be important for later, and met Leo. I grabbed the 2 golden walnuts in there as well as a mummified frog that I'm going to need later. I also managed to clear the entire volcano dungeon in one go, enchanting my pickaxe with Swift. I don't know if that's good or if there's a better one, but it seems pretty good. By the end of the day, I'd managed to grab 16 golden walnuts, some from the volcanoes, some from the beach, a few from the jungle, and some from just digging sand. A lot of the walnuts that had to be dug up was surprisingly obvious if you've played a game with a lot of secrets before. Day 82 was also spent on the island. I combined my iridium band and my burglar ring before opening up the left side of the island and grabbing a whole bunch of walnuts from there. I also found a walnut door, which I didn't read about on the wiki, and got a message that I would be allowed into that room once I got 100 walnuts total. I don't know if I can do it by the end of the year, but I definitely want to try. I also planted some melon and wheat seeds, as well as some garlic seeds that I got from the traveling cart to show the big frog later for his nut. While clearing out the farmland, I found 2 snake vertebrae from rocks, which I'll need later, and apparently is kinda rare, so it's nice to get that out of the way early. Oh, and I got a cute tiger hat from some tiger slimes, which I will be wearing from now on. Day 83 was the Spirits Eve festival, but I spent all day doing stuff on the island until I got the notification. Definitely not because I forgot, it was a choice. I managed to free the guy in the cave at the dig site though, and when I headed back to the valley I grabbed the jack-o'-lantern recipe and the golden pumpkin. I couldn't get the rare crow because I didn't have enough money, so I'll have to grab that next year. Day 84 was the last day of fall, and I spent my day doing my last crop harvests for cranberries and pumpkins, selling all the cranberries and starting my first batch of pumpkin juice. Day 85 was the first day of winter. It was a lot less chaotic than the first day of most seasons since there weren't any crops to buy or get down, so I made some museum donations and headed back over to Ginger Island. I managed to get the mummified bat for the archaeology tent when I was in the volcano mines too. On day 86, I handed in the bat and then headed back to the mainland to grab the normal fish I was missing for winter, as well as give Willy a squid for a quest. I grabbed the magnifying glass from the little shadow dude and opened up some golden coconuts too, getting a banana sapling. I had planned on heading back to the island on day 81, but I had a visit from Gunther. Thanks to a few more donations I made yesterday, I reached 60 items in the museum, so he gave me the rusty key. This means I can access the sewers now, which means I can access more fish for my collection and meet the other shadow person. This one considerably more friendly. I spoke to Krobus, who opened up the bug layer for me before selling me 2 void eggs and a star drop. I fished up the mutant carp and went into the bug layer where I fished up the slime jack. I also got the dark talisman, made one of the void eggs into void mayo, got rid of the blockage in front of the cave using the talisman, fished up a void salmon, gave the henchman a void mayo, got the magic ink, gave the ink to the wizard. Nice. On day 88, I fished up the final winter exclusive fish, the legendary glacier fish, who by the way was just a legendary pain in the ass, before putting it and the mutant carp into the community center fish tank and leaving them there for eternity. Serves them right for being dicks. Anyway, after that I went back to Ginger Island, and I fished up all 5 walnuts you can get by fishing, as well as a snake skull, which allowed me to open up the final area of the island to the east. While I was there, I played 3 games of darts with some pirates for a walnut each time. In each game I had to get exactly 301 points with a fewer amount of darts each time. On day 89, I grabbed the stingray from the little pirate cove, and that's the last non-submarine fish I need. This means that as long as there is no terrible luck or awful blunders on my end, I should be able to complete the entire fishing collection by the end of the year. After that, I just sat in the volcano, trying to grab walnuts. On day 90, I was back on the mainland. I cracked a bunch of geodes, including a golden coconut, which got me the fossilized skull I needed to complete the archaeology tent. And my first batch of pumpkin juice was ready, so I sold it off for a nice 57,000 gold and filled the kegs back up with more pumpkins. I was planning on heading back to Ginger Island on day 91, but it was a super good luck day, so I decided to go to the Skull Caverns instead. This turned out to be the absolute right choice. I got down to floor 86, gathered just over 150 iridium ore, as well as a bunch of other ores and a bunch of stone. I had also planned on going back to Ginger Island on day 92, but I forgot it was the Festival of Ice. When I checked on my animals, I found out my baby dinosaur had hatched, so I named her Zilla, then headed down to Marnie's ranch and caught more fish than everyone else, because I'm better. I did catch all the legendary fish in year 1. None of these assholes could do that. Day 93 was a huge day on Ginger Island. I started by throwing gems at the bird pedestals until it was correct, which gave me 5 walnuts, showed the adorable chunky frog a melon, some wheat and some garlic, which gave me 5 walnuts each for a total of 15, and then handed the fossilized skull into the archaeology tent, getting me another 6 walnuts. It also gave me a banana tree sapling and the ostrich incubator recipe, but I was more excited with the fact that I was only 4 walnuts away from getting into the walnut room. I spent the rest of the day in the volcano blowing up stone since I need 1,000 stone by the end of the week for Robin's weekly request. Day 94 was more volcano stone. That's it. On day 95 I headed back to the mainland after finishing Robin's stone request. I bought a galaxy hammer from Marlin and grabbed a bunch of emeralds and a prismatic shard to enchant it when I go back to the island tomorrow. I was on the island on day 96, and I enchanted my hammer with 4 emeralds for +4 extra speed and a prismatic shard which gave it Crusader. Honestly, I'm still not entirely sure what Crusader does, but I know I want Artful, because that's what the internet says. And the internet would never lie to me. The internet says you should subscribe. On the morning of day 97, I found a walnut hidden in a muscle rock. I headed over to the door to see how many I had left to find before it opened, and to my utter shock, it let me inside. Inside stood a man named Mr. Key, who looked like a large smurf in a much fruitier outfit. He said I could complete his special challenges for special currency known as Key Gems. I grabbed a quest from his board to catch the extended family of legendary fish and headed back to the mainland. Day 98 was spent catching the extended legendary family. I only got 4 out of 5 because the radioactive carp took so long to show up. The only one I was missing by the end of the day though was the Legend 2. On the morning of day 99, I grabbed the Legend 2 and then headed back over to Ginger Island to grab a new request from Mr. Key. I got the Keys Crop quest, which seems kinda tough, but I'll do my best to get it done. I ended up passing out in the submarine trying to get all the fish. By the time I passed out, I was just missing the blobfish though, so that fishing collection is almost done. Day 100 was spent grabbing as many key beans as possible, either through cutting down trees or cracking geodes. I headed to the night market as soon as it opened and bought a cute mermaid painting, and then caught a single fish, which was the blobfish, completing my entire fishing collection. I woke up on day 101 to the star drop from Willy for completing the fishing collection, but I forgot to keep the footage, so instead you can